Hey, what's up, Guardian? It's Jake here with my first official video of both the new year and a new series for the channel. For me, raid exotics have always felt underutilized in the meta aside from a select few, so my aim with this series is to make some builds that really allow the uniqueness of the raid exotics to shine through. Now, as a simple disclaimer so nobody comes for me in the comments, the builds will not be meta defining. They'll be more on the side of like niche builds, but with that, let's get right into the video. If you do not want to watch this segment of the video, you can skip to the timestamp on screen. I'll give you a few seconds. I'm going to start with the ground rules for the build videos going forward. Each build video will showcase the build in lower end and higher end content to show that although it's not meta, it is still potent. I will be showcasing only Titan builds for the moment unless there is demand for the other classes, as I have a majority of my playtime dedicated to my Titan. If you have any issues understanding the video, there will be a link to the build on Mobalytics, so that I don't clutter the screen with an overwhelming amount of information to have the video be as manageable as possible for easier viewing. I am not a professional player, but I have done most of the content in the game, so if there's something I do that is not optimal, you can always leave some suggestions to help me get better in the future. So, first things first, as the title of the video says, this is a Touch of Malice build, so that's what we will be focusing on as the primary element of the build. I've tinkered quite a bit with what exotics allow it to shine, and I ended up settling on the Mask of the Quiet One after the buff it received at the beginning of this episode. Touch of Malice's main issue is once you get down to the final bullet in the mag, you trade health for damage, and it will bring you all the way down to 1 HP. So if you're in any relatively high-end content, your survivability is tanked. But Mask of the Quiet One, paired with some other parts of the kit, allows you to circumvent that completely. So Mask of the Quiet One at the moment, if you get rapid kills while you have a Void Super equipped, it doesn't matter from whether it's abilities, weapons, or any other means, you are getting Devour. And Devour just negates the whole problem that Touch of Malice brings. So if your health gets down to 0, or basically 1, as soon as you're critically wounded, you immediately get Devour. So it's kind of a self-looping exotic. So for my other weapons, I went for the VS Velocity Baton with Demo and Attrition Orbs. This is to help out your team and get some ability ammo back and to weaken Horde. So if you see a Horde, just shoot your thing, you'll get a little bit of orbs gen for your team, and it'll be pretty easy to pick off with Touch of Malice, so you can kind of, start that loop back up. And I picked the Hammerhead just because I don't like things that explode in my face, and if my health is already at 1, I'd prefer it to at least not be user error when I die. But if you don't have any of those weapons, I have some alternatives. I only use these because they synergize with the Void Super, and since I have them, but here are some other options. You have the Aberrant Action from last season, the Martyr's Retribution from last season. You'll see a lot of these are wave frames or rocket sidearms because they are very effective at making enemies weaker or outright killing hordes. I have my Undercurrent with Demo and Volt Shot, my Forbearance Adept with Chain Reaction Unrelenting, Heal Clip Incandescent. You get the idea. For your heavy, you can actually just kind of use whatever. It really doesn't matter as long as it's matching whatever your secondary slot is. It's just better for your orb generation, but I have, Speleologist, Song of Verute, Minstrel Lift, and Cataclysmic as some other alternatives that you can use. Now, for the general mod setup, there are 3 areas that you can adapt for whatever your needs are, depending on what you're running. So, for the helmet, you can swap out your Siphon mods to match whatever your secondary is. So, if I'm running a Aberrant Action, swap it out for a Solar Siphon mod. For your chest, you can change whatever resists you need. And for your boots, you have a couple options. I would say keep at least 1 Kinetic Surge because, you are using Touch of Malice as your primary weapon. You can either swap the Void Surge out for a Surge that matches your secondary, or you can just add another Kinetic Weapon Surge. So for the mod setup that I have currently, I have a Void Siphon, Kinetic Siphon, and Special Ammo Finder mod. The special ammo finder mod, A, because this is a primary weapon and an exotic, it generates it faster, and having ammo in your secondary is always a bonus. For my arms, I have a firepower, a impact induction, and momentum transfer. You kind of want to have your grenade up as much as possible. Even though Devour will help, and obviously Demolitionist, you're going to be using your shackle grenades a lot. It's important to have them. It's one of the ways that you can take apart enemies and make them a lot easier for you to clean up. I will explain more about that later. The chest mod doesn't really matter. Your boots, as I've said, I'm running Kinetic Surge. Recuperation is almost a non-starter. Having instant health back if Devour is down at that point or you need to reproc it is always a bonus. And I also have a Void Weapon Surge just to give these two a little extra edge. And on the mark, I have a Reaper mod, since you will be casting your barricade and hiding behind it a lot. Time dilation, so you have less reliance on orbs just to keep that damage up. And powerful attraction, just to get that range in. So as you can see, I have on screen the subclass menu. I will go over each of the options and why I chose them very quickly, just so we can get on to the gameplay loop. For the super, I have Twilight Arsenal. This is non-negotiable. You need it for Mask of the Quiet One to work. It is a solid super, so there's really no complaints there. For the aspects, I have Diamond Lance and Unbreakable. Both of them have received buffs going into next season. Diamond Lance indirectly and Unbreakable directly. So the reason I chose Diamond Lance is now you have access to on-demand damage resist when you generate a Diamond Lance. This is a bit of a problem because you might have to go retrieve it if it's not close enough, so that kind of puts you in a bit of dire straits if you do need that immediately, but you have Unbreakable. With the buff it's getting, it A, provides cover. You can go res your teammates for it. If something does go wrong, you get Void Overshield, which is a pseudo form of damage resist because it now is an extra thing for your health pool to tick from instead of directly your health. And you just get to absorb a bunch of damage, so why not? For the grenade, I went with Shackle because Shackles give you the chance to pick off a group of targets with a lot less problems. Shield Throw, again, on-demand overshield. It's long range, you don't have to get up close. I went with the Rally Barricade, so A, you can see over it, and B, it's about as quick as Thruster, so you're going to be able to proc Reaper off within a reasonable amount of time. Now, for the fragments, there are three that I think are non-negotiable. You have Facet of Solitude, Facet of Purpose, and Facet of Grace. These are non-negotiable, A, because you want that damage. You want that damage resist off enemies since you are debuffing them, and you are aiming for precision hits anyways. You want orbs to give you overshield just in case those other options you have are not available. And Facet of Grace, you want your Transcendence bar to go as fast as humanly possible. The other two you can kind of switch up, and you know, Facet of Protection is not bad if you do need to go in up close, you know, to protect your teammates. But I went with Facet of Awakening because you generate elemental pickups, and having elemental pickups A, feeds your ability, and it synergizes with Facet of Honor because collecting an elemental pickup or destroying a tentacle gives you that Transcendence energy. So as you see with my build, you'll be generating a lot of light Transcendence, so having additional ways of getting, you know, those other Transcendence from the darkness, whether it's Stasis from your Diamond Lances or from the Severing Blast, it's just kind of nice to have all around. We are now at the long-awaited gameplay segment where I showcase how the build works. I give some tips and tricks, but I'm going to first start off with a little disclaimer. So I'm going to be doing the tested in the corrupted GM node, as you can see here. A, because you will have access to high-end content damage numbers, and you get to see the survivability and the highest piece of content you will most likely be running with it. And B, it has a very good starting area for me to showcase the range effectiveness of the build. Now, the disclaimer is that this is a very high skill ceiling build. You need to practice a decent amount with it before I would recommend taking it into a piece of high-end content. And the reason for that is there's a lot of management you need to be doing for your buffs and debuffs, as well as kind of learning when are the optimal timings for things. So when I list out through the steps on what you should be doing and what the loop is, you'll see what I mean. And for the other thing, the tips and tricks, never ever feel bad about spending your heavier specials to start Devour. It's a lot more important that you're alive. You're running a finder mod. You will never ever stress about it. And 2, you have to reload Touch of Malice. As nice as the double damage is, being alive is a lot better. And if you're in between Devour and you're in a high piece of content, you are a literal wet piece of paper that Afflict will kill. So don't forget to use the blind. It stuns champions, and right now being able to stun 2 champions is nice. You get bonus damage against those enemies for a short time, and they won't be firing back at you. So for the gameplay loop, you will be throwing your rally barricade down, shackles for a group of enemies like I will do right here. Like that, spawn in nice and easy. I'm not stressed out. Throw my velocity baton in there. I already got some gold genned up. Oh no, my health is going down. I'm hitting him with precision. Not really an issue anymore. I got some of that going on. He's stunned. Watch that Transcendence bar fill up. Within 30 seconds or less, I have had my full Transcendence bar. I can now move up. I have overshield because of my void shield. If I'm really worried about these enemies, which I should be, throw down that barricade. I got cover. They are aggroed on me, but that's fine. I have that Transcendence damage buff. I'm a little bit worried about my health. Let's swap back down. See, the health went down to half. Throw that in there. Get some extra damage on him. Devour's up. If you can see on the left side of my screen, there's a lot of stuff going on. And see, I wasn't being careful. That's what happens when you're not really paying attention to your health bar, because I got greedy and I died. So you can see what I mean when I say this is a very high skill ceiling build. We are now at the end of the video. I hope you guys saw the vision of the build and what I was trying to do with it. If you do end up using it after watching this video, I'd love to see clips of it. You know, you can tag me on whatever. And I really appreciate you sticking around till the end of the video. It really does help me out, and I do very genuinely appreciate it. I will see you all next time, Guardians. Mega XVI out. Peace.